हरि ओम। ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरम्। ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पातञ्जलि प्राञ्जलिनानतोऽस्मि। हरि ओम। We are discussing about the third or the Vibhuti Pada of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. The study of Shad Darshanas is considered extremely critical in Hinduism, and the reason for that is, although we may be studying a particular darshana, as we are studying yoga now, the depth of study of darshana takes us to a different horizon of knowledge, strengthens the fundamental concept of Advaita, and gives us a glimpse of Veda. The sutra that we are going to discuss now is of grand esoteric significance. Lots of mysteries, and shall I say the misconception about the Pancha Mahabhutas will be dispelled today with the grace of Patanjali Maharaj. We have been by hearting Ashtada Prakriti Pancha Mahabhuta for long many years. We all know that the Pancha Mahabhutas are existing. But somewhere in the mind, we have not been able to reconcile the multitudes of things that we face in our physical life or the transactional life or the Vyavaharika Vishwa and the Pancha Mahabhutas. If everything, including my Sharira, is made up of Pancha Mahabhutas, my Indriyas are made up of Pancha Mahabhutas, I dealt with the subjects and the objects which are also made up of Pancha Mahabhutas. That means the Sthula Vishwa, the cosmos, the universe, as we call it, and one of them is subjected to me for the experience. There are many which I do not even know. And such multitudes of universes keep coming and keep dissolving. That is the grand design of the Creator. But it is essential for me as a sadhaka to precisely understand what this cosmos is all about. Now, we are by-hearted that this cosmos is nothing else but Pancha Mahabhuta. But who are they? How do they come in existence? How do they appear as so many varieties? If I start enumerating the varieties in the world, my life will be not sufficient to enumerate them, to write them. There are so many varieties of trees, so many varieties of birds, so many varieties of inventions, so many varieties of people, so many varieties of body parts, so many varieties. Everywhere there are varieties. Bahuda. Bahuvidhata, Vaividhyata, differentiation, identification, variety is seen everywhere by us. And what, as a man, we have been trying to do all these years? We are trying to make some sense of the things that are existing outside. Our most elite community called scientists, what are they trying to do? They're trying to find out what is there in the air. What is the air made up of? What is this alloy made up of? They work on it, they purify it, they find out the element involved in that particular thing, they create a metal, create alloys out of it, they create a car, a combustion out of it. So what is happening is all gross things are being studied by science. Their combination and recombinations are studied by chemistry. If it is a live thing, it is studied by biology. And these sciences have become deeper and deeper as a zoology, botany, again, a particular specific botany, then again, a study of human health, then anatomy, then physiology, then microbiology, then parasitology. There are a lot many logies that are developed because all visible manifestations is the beginning of research or the invention, as they call it. And the science moves forward to the deeper and deeper layers of this to find out the truth. While finding out the truth, the scientists realize that there is a commonality in all the manifestations. And I'm talking about pure science. It has nothing to do with Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra is far deeper and wider. And that is why we are trying to compare. For the comparison, we have started first with the science that we know of. I see a small piece of wood or iron in my hand. I call it as iron. A couple of years back, like for example, about 1,000 years or 1,500 years before Christ, the iron was not known. And when the Aryans discovered that, they called it as Sham Ayas, the metal which has a bluish tinge in the texture. So when till the time the iron was not found, it was not known to the human mind, it was invented. So one more gross element was invented. Then further, as we moved forward, now we know that it is iron, this is copper, that is aluminum, this is that, that is that. But each one of them are made up of molecules. So there is something Visheshata. What is Visheshata? Speciality. Iron, aluminum, gold, silver, mercury, these are specialities. What is commonality? All of them are made up of molecules. May it be iron, may it be copper. The basic thing is molecule. Again, the research continued forward and they say, no, it's not the molecule. It is the atom that is important. It's common to all. Everything is made up of atoms. Again, the research moved forward and they said, no, atom actually is made up of subatomic particles. So it was molecule to atom, atom to subatomic particles, subatomic particles now going down towards vibratory state of that particular smallest possible particle and its vibratory motion being studied in relation with each other, moving into the field of quantum mechanics. What is all this happening? It is nothing else but an attempt to find out a commonality in the expression outside. The scientists, especially the physicians, those who are dedicated to physics, which is called as fundamental physics, they are more and more dedicated towards finding out one common principle that binds everything. And the common principle is still evading them. And it shall continue to evade the science. The reason being, science is nothing else but a journey into the microscopic aspect of everything and anything, going deeper and deeper. But the only problem is, science is trying to get into the deeper aspect of manifested matter. Matter can be investigated to the deepest of its level, but then after reaching the deepest of the deep level of the matter, the research would stop, because the mind that is researching this particular deeper aspect of manifestation is considered to be separate than the matter by the science. That is the biggest problem. We are trying to discuss something profoundly fundamental about science and the metaphysics, science and the Adhyatma. It's very easy to discard science saying that it is nothing compared to yoga. No, it has its own place. But we must know very clearly what are the limitations of science and what is unlimited yoga shastra. And the difference lies in the fact that consciousness, mind, and matter, consciousness, mind, and matter are considered separate by the science. So it is the mind that is working on the matter to find out the details of the matter. That is what science is all about. The yoga being evolved science, it considers consciousness, mind, and matter all as one. So it is not that the matter needs to be investigated, the mind needs to be investigated, because I am not the mind and I have the ability to study the mind. In science, it is the mind which is studying the matter. In yoga, it is something else that is studying the mind as well as the matter and getting closer to the consciousness. I hope I'm clear in what I'm talking. The ability to study the mind cannot be done with the indriyas. So when in science, it is the mind of a Nobel laureate. A mind of a Nobel laureate is researching the matter with very sharp brain, profound intelligence, agreed, but it is the intelligence that is investigating the matter. Intelligence itself is not getting investigated and cannot be investigated by indriyas. That is the biggest restriction that is available or that is there for the science. So everything that the science does has to have the involvement of indriyas. Even a pure physician or a pure mathematician, when he evolves a particular formula, he has to use his intelligence to get to that formula and form the postulate. The theory of relativity was not demonstrated in the laboratory by Einstein, but it was thought by him, but subsequently got supported by the help of astrophysics, etc. That's a different question altogether. Bombastic distances between the planets, the impact of huge weight of the planets and the stars on the other planets or on the gravity cannot be studied in a small laboratory set up on the Earth. But the fact still remains that the entire research is modulated through indriyas, even though one of them is mind or indriya called intelligence. But there is no way of studying the intelligence itself by something else. And this limitation is completely transgressed by the yogi. How does he do that? Because the very approach of a yoga shastra and the science are completely apart from each other. The science believes in delving deep into the manifested things and taking each manifested thing and trying to research it out so that we can come to know about some conclusion about its content or the inner nature. So far, the inner nature of everything that is manifested, as far as science is concerned, is restricted to the level of quantum mechanics or the subatomic particles. The best that science has reached about the sunlight or the sun rays is that it is not a ray, it is not a wave, but it is in the form of photon. Agreed. A great advancement. But yogi doesn't look towards the manifested things like this. He looks at the srushti as the manifestation of one singular consciousness. It is singular consciousness that has come to the stage of multiplicity and what we see as a universe. So from the consciousness to the manifested universe, there is a journey that has been undertaken. How is this journey? And how do we know it? We know it because the Munis, the Rishis of the Patanjali's caliber experienced it, saw it, and wrote about it. That is why we are studying Patanjali Yoga Sutra. You and me have not experienced what they are talking, but then they have mentioned precisely how the consciousness, when it was only in the state of consciousness itself, unmanifested, when it started its manifestation, till the point it reached where all this multiplicity of universe which we are experiencing is seen. So it's a grand and a great journey from consciousness to the ultimate manifestation as cosmos. And this manifestation is not an absurd manifestation. The universe that is manifested is ruled, governed by certain principles and laws. That is why it is called cosmos and not chaos. There is nothing chaotic in this universe. Everything is bound by principles and laws. What are these principles and laws? These are higher principles and higher laws which are experienced not by the normal intelligence because of its limitation. It is ascertainable by intelligence alone. But the intelligence required for this ascertainment is the intelligence which is highly refined and highly penetrating. How can you do that? For that, you need to make the intelligence, which is nothing else but the manifestation of Shuddha Sattva, has to come and shine forth in its purest, pristine form. In other words, anyone who inculcates Sattva Guna to its maximum, his intellect is bound to imbibe the maximum light, maximum pristinity, which shall help him in understanding the cosmos in a better way. Because to understand the cosmos and the underlying principles and the laws, you require a penetrating intellect, and only a penetrating intellect can concentrate. And concentration, called Sanyama, Dhyana Dharana Samadhi, leads to the exploration of inner universe. You come to know the inner content, the inner nature, the laws and the principles of manifestation of consciousness. That is possible only and only through a highly powerful intellect, which is developed simply by inculcation of highest Sattva Guna, which again is developed with the help of removing the Mala and the Vikshepa, which can be done by Vivek and Vairagya, for which you require Ashtangas. So the importance of Yama Niyama, Asana, Dharana, Dhyana, Pratyahara, Samadhi, etc. But the purpose is, with each stage of sharpness of the intellect, with each stage of incremental sattva guna, a yogi is able to decipher the inner nature of manifested universe, and he comes to know how the consciousness has evolved. What is the direction of this journey? The direction of the journey is from manifested to unmanifest. So that is the reason why it starts from the objects that we see and then goes towards the objects that we don't see. From the sthula, it goes towards the sukshma. Then what are the principles, what are the inner things that the great rishis like Panchashikhacharya or Patanjali Maharaj obtained? This is what is called as study of Pancha Mahabhutas. Tukaram Maharaj has given one small line. Jane jinkile bhuta tyane kondile ananta. The one who has become victorious over the Pancha Mahabhutas, it is as good as he has taken Ananta in his lap. So how are these Pancha Mahabhutas manifesting? You can study it from the beginning, from consciousness down the line to the ultimate manifestation, or we can study it from the manifestation going back towards the consciousness. When consciousness comes down, it is called involution of consciousness. And when we go from the object or the material things back towards consciousness, it is called evolution of consciousness. So you can have an involutionary approach to understand, or you can have evolutionary approach. We all know that the consciousness was not keen on manifesting at all. The consciousness was in the state of consciousness itself. The time when nothing was manifesting. Even the Maya was not existing. So where was she? She was in the nature of the consciousness. Who knew that the consciousness is there? The consciousness itself knew that I am there. Swasamvedya. It cognizes itself by itself. In the pure, pristine state of unmanifested universe, only consciousness was vibhurvyapya everywhere. When the manifestation began, the potentiality of the consciousness came out in the form of Prakriti or Maya. When the potentiality came out, and mind well, it is not coming out, it is existing already in the consciousness itself, but it decided to manifest. This Prakriti then started giving rise or giving birth to things one by one, which underwent changes after changes after changes, and then came into this multitudinal universe. The lowest of the manifestation which we are aware of, we means our brain, our intelligence is privy, has right only, has access only to the manifested sthula vastu. I know Pradeep ji, I know Himanshu ji, I know so and so. I know the object, I know the table, I know the chair, because all of them are sthulas. I do not know what's happening in the mind of Pradeep ji, because that is sukshma. My intelligence doesn't have access to the sukshma. My intelligence has access only to the sthula. Why so? Because ours is a dull intellect. When Gurudeva calls our intellect as dull intellect, we feel, no, how can I be? Because I am an IAS officer. I have done my MBBS, MD, engineering, whatnot. How can I be dull? You are dull, sir. The reason because you are not able to transgress the limit of sthula vastu that you see. Your knowledge doesn't go beyond that. If at all you're a science student, you may say that, yeah, that's a car, but basically it is iron element, and that iron is made up of ferrous, and ferrous has got this kind of proton and electron, so much of covalent bonding or electrovalent bonding, whatever. Beyond that, the knowledge doesn't go, it stops there. The Sthula Swarupa is the Swarupa which is accessible to Indriyas, and it always has a form. Nama Rupatmaka. Anything that has a form and a name which is ascertainable by Indriya, which is our condition, which is what we know, is called Sthula. So the Bhutas, Pancha Mahabhutas, lowest manifestation is Sthula. Now we go little behind the Sthula. For example, I see this as a cup. So what is this? It's a cup, it's a mug, holds coffee, etc. That's my Sthula Jnanam about the Pancha Mahabhuta. But by the way, this is a Pancha Mahabhuta. What Pancha Mahabhuta is this? Prithvi Tattva. So what is the Rupa of this? Mug. What is the Swarupa of this? Katinya. This is Katin, hard. If I take water in my hand, I call it as a water in my hand, in a cup. But if I touch it, it is not Katin, it is Tarala. The Jalam is Tarala. Taralata is Swarupa. If I take lighter, if I take a fire in my hand, if I take incense stick, what am I looking at the tip? Agni. But Agni is the name. What type of Agni? It is not in the form of a fire which you see in the jungle. It is just like a light lit matchstick. Smaller fire, bigger fire. This is just the shape of the fire. But what is the Swarup of the fire? Ushnata. Dah. The wind is blowing. I am blowing from my mouth. It's a wind. And there is a wind blowing. Both are wind. These are the different varieties of wind. But what is the Swarupa of wind? The Swarupa of wind is called Pranami or Vahanashilata. Going from one place to other place is the Swarupa of the wind. There is Akash everywhere. The Akash that is there in my fist now is a small Akash. If it is in a Ghata, it is Ghata Akash. If it is outside, it is Akash. If it is Akash inside the room, these are different shapes of Akash because of delimitation made by us. But what is Swarupa of Akash? Sarvatogati, that which goes everywhere. Asamantat, that which goes everywhere is Akash. This is called a Swarupa of Akash. That means there are Sthula Swarupa. Sthula Rupa is always only the shape. What is Dr. Jadhav? Is 5.7. He's got this, his little bald, this Rupa, Sthula Rupa. But he's a very kind person. He's a very callous person. Swarupa. So every manifested thing of Pancha Mahabhutas at the lowest level is Sthula Rupa. Then comes Swarupa. In the Swarupa again, the Kathorata that we saw, Katinya of Prithvi Tattva or Taralata of Jala is called Samanya. There is also Vishesha Swarupa. What is Vishesha Swarupa? Shabda, Sparsha, Rasa, Rupa, Gandha. These are Vishesha Swarupa of the Pancha Mahabhutas. Shabda is the Vishesha Swarupa of Akasha. By word, by Shabda, we come to know about Akasha, because without Akasha it is not possible. The Shrotra is containing some Akasha, because of which we come to know the words which I am speaking. You are able to hear because of Akasha. So Shabda is the Vishesha Swarupa of Akasha. So for Prithvi, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, all five are there. As we go up into the Pancha Mahabhutas, one is left out. For example, from Prithvi, when you go to Jala Tattva, Gandha is given out. Only Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa is there. Then we go upwards from Jala to Agni, only Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa remains. We go from Agni to Pavana or Vayu, only Shabda, Sparsha remains. And for Akasha, there is only one Vishesha, which is Shabda. So these are called Vishesha Swarupa and Samanya Swarupa. Ushnata, Samanya Swarupa of Agni. So every Panchamahabhuta, when manifested, has a Sthula Swarupa, easy to understand, the shape and everything. And Swarupa is the second stage, a higher stage. Higher means when the consciousness came down, it has reached to the stage of Sthula. Then before Sthula, there is a Swarupa. We are aware of Swarupa also because we know Daha, we know Ushnata, we know Gandha, we get smell, everything. So up to Sthula and Swarupa, we have access. Beyond this, we don't have access. Our buddhi cannot go beyond this. This Swarupa, Sthula has come with Swarupa. Sthula is the final manifestation. Swarupa is the essence. Ushnata, Taralata, Shabda, Sparsha. As you see, this is refined thing. As we go up, the refinement goes up. As we go down, the crudeness goes down. Now, we go beyond Swarupa. Beyond Swarupa is a Sukshma. Bhuta Sakshatkara Karana Swarupa Tanmatra. This Sukshma Rupa, see so-called Ushnata, Taralata, is all coming from the Karana. Karana of this Swarupa is Tanmatra. Now, how do we know Swarupa? How do we know that there is a hardness? Hardness cannot be seen anywhere, but can be understood. Taralata of Jala can be understood, but you can't show it. Sthula can be shown. Sthula, if you say a pen, it can be shown. Akash is Sarvatogati. Akash can go anywhere. You can't show it, but you know. So that means what happened? Higher faculties used as you go upwards. Unfortunately, at Sukshma level or Tanmatra level, we don't have, even our faculty doesn't work. That's the end of our buddhi limit. Why it is so? Why we can't see Tanmatra? Why we can't understand Tanmatra? Why we don't have that buddhi? Because our buddhi has more Raja and Tama, less Sattva. If you're really keen on understanding and knowing Tanmatra and getting mastery over it, then better increase the Sattva. Then again, which comes into Shadadi, Sampat, etc. All that Ashtanga Yoga is meant for that only. Keep sharpening your intellect. You will see higher and higher. So next, the third level of Panchamahabhutas is called Tanmatra, or it is called Sukshma. As we go beyond that, beyond Tanmatra, now we are going closer toward the consciousness. Beyond Tanmatra is what is called Anvaya. What is Anvaya? Tanmatras are also made up of what? Three gunas. That means three gunas came together to form Tanmatra. Tanmatra then gave rise to Panchamahabhuta. In the Sukshma Panchamahabhuta gave the Sthula Panchamahabhuta. We are trying to go evolutionary stage from Sthula to Swarupa, Swarupa to Sukshma, Sukshma to Anvaya. Anvaya is called Trigunatmakata. Prakasha, Kriya, Sthiti, Sattva, Raja, Tama. Unless these three come together, Tanmatras are not born. Now these three again, these three gunas, We have already seen these three gunas are nothing else but Prakriti. Now these three gunas are made up of, or they comprise Prakriti itself. But this Prakriti has come from where? From the Purusha. Because whatever structure we saw up till now is completely useless if there is no consciousness in it. The consciousness has seeped into it at each stage. That is why sthulas are perceptible. We have knowledge of sthula because of what? Because of consciousness. Otherwise, sthula will be there, mind will be there, indriya will be there, nothing. Vyavahar will not happen. Understanding will not happen. So that is why everything, this evolution has an underlying consciousness seeping into it. Now, when we go backwards beyond Anvaya stage or Trigunatmakata stage, a stage comes where you come to know that, oh, from there the source is seeping in. That is the last state of manifestation of Panchabhabhuta. It is called Artha Tattva. It is Bhog Apavargata of Purusha. We have studied Bhoga and Apavarga earlier. When the torch light is switched off, there is nothing, all darkness. Nothing is existing. When it is switched on, all the things are seen. Similarly, the entire cascade of Panchamahabhutas coming down the line is possible only when consciousness or Purusha throws the light. This throwing of light at the highest level, at Prakriti level, before even the gunas are manifesting, that is called Artha Tattva. And this Artha Tattva is the first stage of manifestation of Panchamahabhuta. It is also described as Ekoham Bausyam Sankalpa. It happened, and then Ikshana, he Ikshati, Ishwar Ikshan, and then Ishwara was formed, then Maya was that point where manifestation began. Unfortunately, the science is still trying to find out the first particle. The first particle itself is considered as a gross thing. Sthula, it is Sukshma, but it is much lower in yoga. Why? Because the science is trying to find out the first earth particle or whatever that particle, universal particle, by using the mind. But the mind itself is the first particle. So you have to go behind the mind, beyond the mind. Going beyond the mind is not possible when mind is separate than the observer. You have to be behind the mind to know the mind and not in front of the mind to know the mind. So that is why most of the research is done through the mind. So it cannot reach behind the mind, and reaching behind the mind is not possible through physical means, while science believes in having a physical mean to achieve the inner nature. So knowing the inner nature of the things by simple contemplation is a far higher method of knowing the whole evolutionary process than seeing it through other things. So we saw that the Panchamahabhutas are coming down from consciousness in the cascading form, Artha Tattva, then Guna Anvaya. After the Guna Anvaya, then it comes to Tanmatra level or Sukshma, then Swarupa, then Sthula. So 5 stages are there, then this universe manifests like this. And at each stage, we will see that it is becoming smaller and smaller. Sthula becomes smaller at the Swarupa level. Swarupa becomes smaller at the Sukshma level. Sukshma becomes smaller at a Guna level or Anvaya level. And all that becomes smaller at Artha Tattva level. And at the Purusha level, everything becomes so small that it just disappears. Only consciousness remains. Let's take an example to understand it. Let's take an analogy to understand it. We all know oxygen. It's a Panchamahabhuta, part of Vayu. Let us see the creation of oxygen in the divine way. We will come to the point where the science also comes into the picture, but it comes into the picture at a much lower level. When the oxygen is to be formed, what is the first thing that will happen in the divine mind? The first thing that happens in divine mind is you must have a concept of oxygen. See, try to understand this. There's nothing, and you are trying to create oxygen. But to know that you want to create oxygen, you must have a concept called oxygen that should be coming to the mind. This coming of concept in the mind is Artha Tattva. The Purusha, the consciousness, has kalpitata. It did a sankalpa. This is called Satya Sankalpa. Sankalpa. Sankalpa is Ichha. Sankalpa is the first ideation. The closest word in English to this is ideation. Because we have idea of a mug because we have seen a mug. In the childhood only I was taught that this is mug. But imagine when this mug is not existing, it is not, nobody knows this mug, nobody knows this shape. Who will get this first? First is the one who will ideate that, well, there can be something which is like this, and then the mug will be produced. I'm talking about a very, very important concept because Swami Vivekananda and Paul Dyson were discussing for almost one day this concept. Dyson was an ardent disciple of Schopenhauer. And Schopenhauer said that you see the things, so you ideate. And Swami Vivekananda said, I'm sorry, I don't accept it. In our Shastra, it is different. We ideate, so it comes into the picture. It's other way around. The power of ideation is so great that whatever you ideate becomes. Kalpati iti bhavati. I also do have a lot of kalpitata. I want to become so and so, but that doesn't happen. I want to fly. I can't fly. Why? Because you don't have the mind that can really fulfill that wish. You haven't graduated yourself to that. When you graduate higher into the consciousness, then of course that ideation happens. And this ideation that we are talking is Lord's ideation, the highest that one can think of, one which is beyond the gunas. So being the master of the gunas, his ideation first comes. So we were talking about the analogy of oxygen. So first divine ideation is oxygen, and the oxygen formation starts. How does it start? After this ideation, Artha Tattva has happened. Now everything in this world is made up of gunas. So oxygen has to be made up of gunas. Now, whether it will have higher sattva, lower raja, lower tama, that is a different thing. But the permutation combination has to happen. That is called anvaya. Now the oxygen has gone to the next stage. Anvaya, gunas have come. Gunas have started forming oxygen. You and me cannot still breathe that oxygen because it is yet to come in the form, because our nose is not equipped with inhaling oxygen which is in guna form, that is anvaya form. It is still supposed to come down, because for the jiva to take upabhoga, the panchamahabhuta should evolve. The mango that is there which is not yet formed on the tree, I can't eat. So similarly, after the oxygen has come at the guna level, then from guna level, it comes to tanmatra level. Now, tanmatra level is something which we have already seen, which is called sukshma. It is here the science comes. Why? Now they know that it is O2. There is one O. There is another O that is bound by a particular bond. This is called a Sukshma Swarupa of oxygen. Science has reached up to this level, Sukshma Swarupa. Now, After this Sukshma Swarupa, it comes into Swarupa. Swarupa means it will come in the form of gas, pure oxygen. Now it has become Vahanashil because it is Vayu. It is Vayu Tattva of Panchamahabhuta. So it is come into that particular form. Still I can't see it because my indriyas are incompetent to see oxygen. Then it comes into Sthula form. How does it come into Sthula form? It gets combined with some particular element and it becomes ferrous oxide, and then it lies into the ground, and then we say this is ferrous oxide which can be divided into ferrous and oxygen. So we can see Here's that. What I found. Then we can see that. So that is why we need to understand that Sthula Swarupa of oxygen has evolved from the divine ideation to this level. These are called 5 different levels of oxygen. Each Panchamahabhuta manifests in the similar form right from divine level to the lower level. That means each manifested thing, even though it is Panchamahabhuta, because as it comes down, it becomes 5. As it goes up, then it becomes 1. So from Sthula, Swarupa, Sukshma, Anvaya, Artha Tattva. Why are we studying all this? Since the bhutas or Panchamahabhutas have evolved in this particular manner, we are able to do Sanyama at each stage. Sanyama on Sthula, Sanyama on Swarupa, Sanyama on Sukshma Panchamahabhuta, Sanyama on the Anvaya of Panchamahabhuta, and Sanyama on Artha Tattva. What is the resultant thing? The resultant thing is Bhuta Jaya. The resultant thing is Bhuta Jaya. That is why the 44th sutra that we are studying today, an important sutra, is Sthula Swarupa Sukshma Anvaya Artha Tattva Sanyamat Bhuta Jaya. Now the yogi not only knows the Panchamahabhutas or the entire evolution, imagine right from consciousness down to the manifestation of Panchamahabhutas, this is Sthula Vishwa. The entire Sthula Vishwa is bared open to him. And knowing a thing is to be master of that thing. Now that he knows that Panchamahabhutas are organized in this manner, what happens? He becomes conqueror of Panchamahabhutas. It is called Bhuta Jayaha. Bhuta Jayaha. And that is why once the Bhuta Jaya comes, then comes the Siddhi, which is called Ashtadha Siddhi. So far we have studied Ashtadha Siddhi many a times. But from where it is coming from here. Tato, tataha, after doing all this Sanyama on the different manifestation of Panchamahabhutas, Sthula, Sukshma, Sthula, Swarupa, Sukshma, Anvaya, Artha Tattva. By doing Sanyama on all 5, when he gets Bhuta Jayaha, he automatically gets Ashtadha Siddhi. Tataha, after Bhuta Jayaha, Animadi Pradhurbhavaha Kaya Sampat Dharmat Dharma Anabhigataha Cha. That is the next sutra. Yogi, after conquering the Panchamahabhutas, because of his ability to do Sanyama, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, is Sanyama on different levels of manifestation, he gets different siddhis. They are called as Sthula Bhuta Siddhi, Swarupa Siddhi, Sukshma Rupa Siddhi, Anvaya Siddhi, and Artha Tattva Siddhi. All 8 are divided depending upon where you are doing the Sanyama. When Sthula Bhuta Siddhi comes, that means the yogi is able to do Sanyama on the gross manifestation. Sthula Bhuta Siddhi, he immediately gets 4 powers, 4 siddhis: Anima, Laghima, Mahima, and Prapti. Mind well, Garima is not considered as a siddhi in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Why so? The reason is, what is Anima? Anuhu bhavati iti anima. Anuhu means becoming microscopic. You become a bacteria. Such a small thing you can become. That is anima. Laghima, laghuhu bhavati. Laghu means light, micro light. You become micro light like a cotton fiber. Mahima, mahan bhavati. Mahan means Gaja Parvatadi Tulya. You can become like an elephant, like a mountain. You can become a mountain. Now, when you become Mahima, like large like a mountain, naturally you will be heavy. So, Garima is not considered as a separate siddhi. It is included in Mahan, Mahima. Anima, Anuhu Bhavati, Mahima, Laghuhu Bhavati, Mahima, Mahan Bhavati, and Prapti. What is Prapti? Angulya agren api Chandramansa sprushati. Yogi, by pointing the finger, little finger, he can touch moon. This is not exaggeration. This is nothing a stretch of imagination. This is a fact that we are mentioning. How this is only 3 inches in length, sir? This is not inches. This touch that you experience is not by extending the little finger right up to there on the moon, but what you exactly get when you touch a mug, exactly the same thing he can get by touching the moon using this when he is contemplating, when he is doing Sanyama. So Anima, Laghima, Mahima, and Prapti, these 4 siddhis the yogi gets by focusing or doing Sanyama or doing Ekagrata on Sthula Bhutas. Now comes Swarupa Siddhi. So the yogi is now not focusing on a earthly object like Narayana, but he is now focusing on hardness of the earthy object. Now remember, hardness is not something to be seen. Murti can be seen. So Sthula can be seen. Now he's developed an ability to focus on something that is not seen but existing. Hardness is existing or not? We experience it. So it is existing. Can't be seen. Now something that can't be seen is taken as an object of meditation. How it is possible? It is possible, sir, when you conquer the Sthula, you automatically get the power of Sukshma. You take one step, the second step is automatically possible. Why? Because it is waiting there. The next door opens. That is why meditation is a practice. You keep doing meditation for what? In one meditation, everything is done. Doesn't happen that way. Every meditation, you move towards the higher level of consciousness. So then, after the Sthula Bhuta Rupa, there is a Swarupa Sanyama. After Swarup Sanyama, you get a siddhi called Prakamya. Prakamyata, Prakamyam, Ichha Anabhighataha. Anabhighat means obstruction. Ichha Anabhighata means there is no obstruction to the wish. So it is called Prakamya. What does that mean? If he wishes, for example, I want to right now fly and reach to Pradeepji's house. This is my ichha. It will not be fulfilled. What about yogi? It will be fulfilled. Why? Prakamya. There is a mountain and I cannot go beyond that. I will go through the mountain. Possible. Why? Prakamyata. Bhumau unmajjati nimajjati yatha udake. The way you dive into water, you can dive into hard objects, wall or mountain or anything. That is called prakamyata. So Katinyata of the Prithvi, why? Now Swarupa has been conquered. Katinyata, Ushnata. So if there is a fire also, he will walk through it without getting burnt, without happening anything happening. Why? The Swarupa has been conquered. The heat part of the Agni has been conquered. In the storm, nothing will happen to him. In tsunami, nothing will happen to him. Why? The force or the Swarupa of this Panchamahabhutas has already been conquered. Thus, that force cannot do anything to him. Swarupa Sanyama Siddhi. Then comes the Sanyama on Sukshma Rupa. That is Tanmatra. When you conquer Tanmatra, you get Vashitva. This is called Vashitva. Bhuta Bhautikeshu Vashi Bhavati. All physical things are under control. So, for example, there is a mug here. I want this mug to just fly and go there. It will go. I want water from that river to come and fall into this particular pot. It will fall. Sthula, I'm talking of only Bhuta Bhautikeshu. Bhautik things. They'll move. Even the yogi can take any one of us, if he wishes, with him from one place to another place. Why? We are made up of Panchamahabhuta. In Swami Vivekananda's biography, if you carefully read, there's an occasion in America, in one house. It was a big house. Swamiji was supposed to go for a change and come. So he was talking and he said, I will change and come. So he went. For some time he didn't come. So they sent one of the boy from the family to just fetch Swamiji where he is. So the boy went in the wrong direction. He went to the other end of that house. Swamiji had gone in one end. So he went to the other end of the house. And Swamiji came with him. After he came, the parents of the boy said, why did you go that way? Because he was in this room. But he said, no, I went there and Swamiji was there. We came together. Going from here, coming from there. Possible, sir. Why? Conquering of Sukshma Rupa Tanmatra. Tanmatras have been conquered. So that is called Vashitva. We still have two more higher levels to know and to see the siddhis of those two higher levels. But before knowing Ashtada Siddhi, it is important to know how Pancha Mahabhutas are formed and how they are unfolding from the consciousness till the Sthula level. Also in this discussion of Patanjali Maharaj lies that answer to the word why science cannot do what darshanas can do. Blind pride about our science doesn't make any sense. The substantial reason behind it is more important. Now I believe and I hope with the help of Panchashikhacharya and Patanjali Maharaj, we are much more in a position to defend our Shastra, being more scientific compared to the arguments that are made against our Shastra by the advancement of sciences. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. We'll wait for some questions.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji. My question's answer is already answer you have already given in the last few sentences. I was wondering, actually spirituality is not an experimentable knowledge. It is only experienceable. The scientist community is, they are wasting, I think they are wasting their time and they are wasting a lot of money on this because it's not their cup of tea in the way they do the researches and all. Now many researches are going on. We are reading it in the newspaper. Atom particles they are dividing, and so that Sushma and all are they are checking. I mean, they are trying to find out an answer from where this has been created and all. But they will never be able to come to a scientific conclusion in the way of mathematics or theory or something, because this is perfectly an experienceable knowledge which they don't believe. This is the irony.
True. Very true.
Do you think they will be able to say, we will be, I mean, our masters will be, spiritual masters will be able to convince these people so that a lot of money can be saved?
It is because of the prarabdha, it is because of their sanchay of guna that is happening, whatever is happening. That is a part of universe, that is a part of Ishvara's rule. So that cannot be reversed. Only those who come out of it and start getting into the Sattva-guna inculcation shall automatically move towards this Shastra and make their progress. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Dr. Sanjay.
Ji.
On the 45th sutras about the Sukshma, Sthul Sukshma, and we learn there are like 4 avasthas of Deha, like Sthul Sukshma, Karan, Mahakaran. Is it in how we can correlate those things?
Yeah, those are not correlatable because we were studying Pancha Mahabhutas. We are yet to think, it was a Sthula manifestation we studied. Now in the next sutra, we'll be talking about Sukshma, the body. Then we will come to the body. They are similar. They are not same. They are similar. So we will be studying these avasthas. What is happening inside the body is again a different thing. Because for example, Indriyas, Mana, the rest of the body is Panchamahabhautik. So it happens the same way as we discussed today. But Indriya, Mana and Antakarana, that is a Jiva, is a different thing. For that again, there is a different Sanyama. We will be studying that in due course, when the Shariras will also come into the picture. Because when they say Sharira, they are not talking about the physical body. They're talking about a altogether different aspect of the Jiva. Because this world is made up of 2 things. Upabhogya is Panchamahabhautika Sthula Srushti, and Upabhokta is the Jiva. So Upabhokta is yet to be analyzed. Right now, today's discussion was on Upabhogya Panchamahabhuta. Hari Om.
Hari Om. And one more thing about the in Hanuman Chalisa, we listen about like Ashta Siddhi, and there are Nidhi is also mentioned.
Yeah,
so
Navadhi is the availability of precious things in the Vasundhara, in the Prithvi, in the universe. There are 9 treasures that are made available by the Lord. So we had seen this Navadhi when we studied the Navavida Bhakti Shastra, if you remember during those lectures, what are these Navavidhis? And so that is why these Nidhis, as they call it, these are the accessible treasures or wealth made up of Pancha Mahabhutas, made accessible to certain, jisme you get Suvarna, you get certain rare Vanaspati, etc. The Manikya as they call it. So these are Navanidhis.
Hari Om.
Hari.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji, this you said the Laghima and Garima is the same. So can you tell the difference? I mean, why it is not said in this?
Not Laghima. Laghima is lightness. Laghu means light, micro light. Mahima and Garima are close to each other. Mahima means to become Mahan, big. So when you become big, naturally you have the big weight also with you. Garima. Garima is heaviness. And because bigness and heaviness are generally together, Garima is not considered as a separate siddhi. Instead of that, there is another new 8th siddhi, which we will see next time, which is normally not heard when we see Ashtada siddhi. Patanjali Yoga Sutra believes in 8 siddhis, and the 8th siddhi that it believes in is Yatra Kama Vasayitva siddhi. That is the 8th siddhi, which we had not seen earlier commonly when we were discussing. So Mahima and Garima, they go together. Mahima means to become big, Mahan Bhavati. And when you become Mahan, you are automatically Garima, heavy also. For example, Hanumana he used Mahima Siddhi when he was in Sri Lanka. So when he went to Sri Lanka, he became Mahan. And with the Mahan, he was heavy also. That is how he could pound the Rakshasas and the trees and everything. The whole Vana was completely destroyed by him because of his weight. So he was not only big, he was also heavy. So Mahima and Garima, they're almost considered as one by Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Others try to separate that. Hari Om.
And he became small, that is Anima.
That is
Surasa.
Anu Bhavati. Anu means smallest, microscopic.
Okay, so in this, what is missing is Garima and Mahima together, and
Yes.
all other things are same.
Yes.
Okay.
Anima, Mahima, Prapti and Mahima. That is how they consider first 4 Sthula Siddhis.
Okay. So Laghima is to become small.
Small. Laghuma is to become light.
Light.
Laghu is
Okay. Okay.
Anima is small.
Yeah. Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Sanjay ji, sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to check, in the stages. So just for clarification, I'll just make them. So you had Purusha. When they do ideation, the concept of ideation is the concept is at the Artha Tattva. Then the ideation, Anvaya. And from that comes Tanmatra, right? So Prakriti, or at what is it between the stages as when it begins to take shape, or is it at the concept? Little clarification.
No, if the ideation itself is the Prakriti formation.
Okay.
Purusha is not interested, not doing anything. He is not the doer. Only when under the auspices of Purusha, the effective element of power in him, which is called Prakriti. Prakriti itself is not a separate entity, but Trigunas together are called Prakriti. Prakriti itself, Prakriti is a potentiality or mode of action, is Prakriti. It is made up of 3 gunas. So Prakriti and 3 gunas are not separate. Prakriti itself is 3 gunas. But before 3 gunas come, when they're in Samya Avastha, it is called Prakriti. So ideation starts. The formation of Prakriti itself is Sankalpa. Ekoham Bhausyam. Satya Sankalpa. That is divine Sankalpa. So that itself is formation of universe. So that is where the ideation starts. So after ideation, you have to have some concrete shape to it. So concrete shape, not in the actual Akar form, final form, but you say as a sketch. For that sketch, something has to be done. Sattva is down, Raja is up, next stage, Anvaya. That is how it comes.
Hari Om.
Maya Adhyakshana Prakriti Suyate Sascharacharam. In Gita, there is you remember that stanza?
Yes.
Perfect, it is matching with that.
And not only that, it says that Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. I have already started, now it will go on.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Given the time, I think we are good to close now. Thank you.
Hari Om.